Hello, and welcome to my podcast, The Awesome Caregiver. And normally, during these podcasts, I get my ideas for a topic by something that happened or something that someone brought to me on my website, a question someone may have asked. So, I'm going to start today's podcast by telling you guys a little story. So, if you follow us on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or, well, now Snapchat, you know that this week there was a blackout in my neighborhood and it caused all the power to go out in the house right around the time where Ste'ce was doing his night routine. And his night routine, it consists of showering, then he brushes his teeth, then him and I brush his hair and put his do-rag on for the night. And then he goes downstairs and he watches TV for an hour or however long I decide that I want to allow him to stay up. And then I call him upstairs to go to his room. And then he watches TV in his room for a little bit until he falls asleep. And this routine has been in place for years, let me tell you. And it's working for us. It's been working for him, so I haven't changed it. So, in this particular day of the blackout, the power went out around, I want to say 7 o'clock p.m. The power went out. And the power went out while he was getting ready to brush his teeth. So I noticed the power is out. So I started walking around with my phone light on, my cell phone light on, and checking on the kids. Heaven was okay. So I was like, okay. I go to check on Ste'ce. He's in his bathroom. Of course, the lights are off. And he's attempting to turn on the light. He's like flicking the light switch on and off. So I say to him, hey buddy, the power went out, which means that all the lights and stuff in the house is not going to work right now. And so he looked at me and he ignored me and he continued to flick on and off the switch. So long story short, I told him to go ahead. I convinced him to go ahead and brush his teeth. And then I also convinced him that he didn't need to put his do-rag on at that time because it was dark. There was no way that I was going to be able to hold a flashlight and brush his hair and put his grease on and put his, it was too much. So I convinced him that he didn't need to put his do-rag on that night, and he brushed his teeth, and then he went downstairs. And what happens when he goes downstairs normally is that he watches TV. Could he watch TV? No, because the power is out. And so there he goes with the remote trying to turn TV on. So I explained to him again and again and again that the power is out. He won't be able to use his TV. He won't be able to do any of the things that he normally does. So I take his phone and I put it on YouTube for him. I say, you can watch YouTube on your phone until you're ready to go to bed. So he does that, but he's not happy about it. So when it's time to finally go to bed, he's so upset because all he wants to do is finish his routine. And in his mind, he didn't finish his routine. So he cannot move on to the next step, which is going to bed. He simply can't do it because he didn't get to watch TV downstairs for an hour. And he didn't get to watch TV until he falls asleep. So sadly, for the both of us, there was nothing that I could do for him except for let him be upset. So he cried for a good, I want to say 10 to 15 minutes before he finally cried himself to sleep. And I'm sorry to say that I just had to let him do it. I wanted to go in and maybe, hug him and maybe sit with him until he falls asleep, but Ste'ce is 17-year-old. So in my mind, I thought maybe just let him go through this on his own and get through it. He's fine. He's not hurting or anything like that. And eventually he quieted down and I went to go check on him. He wasn't asleep yet. He was just laying down quietly. And then a few minutes later, I checked on him again and then he was asleep. Now the power came back on at about 1 o'clock in the morning, but everyone was asleep. So, there was nothing really that I could do except for walk around and turn off all the lights that the kids had left on. So I said all that to say this. I know that a lot of you guys, a lot of caregivers experience problems, tantrums, meltdowns, whatever it is that you want to call it, when our awesome loved one gets thrown off of their routine. It happens to all of us. So let's talk about routine for our awesome loved ones. So the thing I love about the routine for the awesome loved one is you always know what they're doing at whatever time that they do it, because they're going to do the same thing every day. So for Ste'ce, in Ste'ce's case, I love that when he comes home, I know he's going to take everything out of his backpack. He's going to put it away. He's going to take off his shoes, his jacket, his hat, and he's going to do everything in the exact same order. And then he's going to sit down and watch TV. Now, if I'm around, he will ask for his orange and then sit down and watch TV. If I'm not around, he'll just sit and watch TV quietly. He's not going to go running around the house. He's not going to go trying to cook himself anything. He's not going to go do anything that will be unsafe. And I know he won't, because he does the same thing every day. So in that case, routine is great. Routine is awesome. But in a case such as the blackout, routine is not so great, because there's nothing I can do for you to be able to go through your routine as you normally do in that case. So we just had to let him go through the motions, because think about it. In the real world, when our awesome loved one is not going to be able to finish their routine, they're gonna have to have coping mechanisms to deal with that. So let's talk about why our awesome person is stuck on their routines. So I got this definition, or should I say this little article from Applied Behavior Analysis, edu.org. And I'm just going to go ahead and read it off. I'm paraphrasing, but you can look it up yourself. Like I said, the website is Applied Behavior Analysis, edu.org. And it says, one of the primary diagnostic criteria for ASD is that the individual shows restricted repetitive patterns of behavior, interests, or activities. This meaning that they want to do the same things all the time. And it boils down to them doing the same things such as placement of toys, silverware, or bath towels, which I can attest to. Ste'ce puts away everything exactly where it should go. All I have to do is tell him once where something goes, and every time he will put it there. And this is also something I love about Ste'ce. So a lot of the times, because of the fact that he does everything the same all the time, I give him certain jobs in the house, like putting away the dishes when they're clean. I know he is going to put all the dishes exactly where they go, and he's not going to deter from that. Also in the article, it says, or into types of food available. This is not the case for Ste'ce, but I do know a lot of awesome kids, a lot of awesome adults that will only eat certain foods. And this is because it's part of their routine. That's what they like. That's what they know they like. They don't want to deter from it. However, Ste'ce, he eats everything. So I really don't have to do repetitive foods with him. Except for breakfast. He will only eat waffles. But this is why your awesome person only eats certain foods. It's because of their routine. And also in the article, it says, or the exact words or even tone of voice used in a bedtime story. So, and I take this as saying, if you read to your child and maybe you want to read another book the next day, they're probably not going to want to do that. So if you start doing something, be prepared to continue to do it. And that's just that. That's just simple. The next little paragraph that I got from this article, I'm not going to paraphrase this one because I feel like this one is important. Any deviation from any of these particulars, even one almost undetectable to a neurotypical individual, can result in enormous anxiety and tantrums from an ASD patient. meaning that even the slightest bit of change in the awesome person's routine can result in anxiety. And if any of y'all know, and I know a lot of my caretaker friends experience anxiety, this just comes with the package, let's face it. So any of y'all know, when you have high anxiety, it's not good for anyone. It's not good for yourself. It's not good for those around you. It causes you stress, etc., etc. And our awesome person might not be able to express in the way that we can how their anxiety is affecting them, because that's important to healing as well. Dealing with your anxiety is talking about it. Your awesome person might not be able to talk about it with you. And if they can, it's important that you go ahead and talk with them about their anxiety when it comes to their routine changes. But I thought that was really important. The deviation in any of these particulars, even one almost undetectable to a neurotypical individual, we might not even see the change in the routine. We might not even see it. But the important thing is, our awesome person sees it. They know what's changed. And even one almost undetectable to us can result in an enormous anxiety and tantrums from an ASD patient or person. I think they say patient here because it's an ABA website. But it goes to further say adherence to routine becomes obsessively important, and any sort of change is a major cause for alarm. So think about this when your awesome person might be having somewhat of a tantrum or an anxiety attack. Because a lot of times, I don't really like to say tantrums, especially when you're dealing with an older awesome person like Ste'ce. I do not like to call his episodes tantrums. For the most part, I call them episodes just because that's simply what they are. Episodes of extreme aggression or anxiety, anger, sadness, whatever the case may be, whatever this situation calls for, whichever emotion this situation calls for. They're episodes. When you have someone smaller of age, maybe it might be tantrums, because tantrums are attention-seeking behaviors. But most of the episodes that I see in Ste'ce, they're not attention-seeking. They're just him being upset and not knowing how to express. So when it comes to those type of things, it's really important to remember why this is happening. That way, if you understand it better, you can better help your awesome person through it. So understanding that the routine is so important to my awesome person, being Ste'ce, when something like this happens, it's important for me to know that he cannot help himself in feeling his feelings. His feelings are valid, but what he can help himself doing is, number one, breaking rules, which my number one rule is we don't break things when we're angry. We just don't do it. If we need to do something with our hands when we're angry, we go to our punching bag. Now, Ste'ce used to go to the punching bag on his own, but he has not done that for a while now, because he's grown up and being a teenager, he's become a little bit more lazy. And punching that bag, it takes a little bit. So he would rather just, wherever he is, just hit whatever is in front of him, rather than go all the way downstairs, all the way into the garage and go and punch the bag there. And that's just laziness, and I don't condone that. So when it came to Ste'ce being upset about the blackout and him not finishing his routine, I did not punish him when he became angry. Instead, what I did was I redirected him. Redirection is so important when it comes to our awesome person, because they may not have the ability to redirect themselves. So what I had to do with Ste'ce, and this is the part I left it out a little bit so I could talk about it now. Before Ste'ce fell asleep, he began to get very, very angry because he did not understand. Why aren't the lights turning on? Why can't I watch TV? Why is mom making me go to sleep when I didn't finish my routine? So what he began to do is he began to hit the wall above his bed. And I don't know if you guys have seen Ste'ce lately. He's a big guy. If I would let him to continue to hit the wall above his bed, he could have very well put a hole in it. And now that's more money that I have to spend trying to fix it. So once I heard him hit the wall, I went into his room and I said, okay, let's go. And we went downstairs and I let him hit the bag for, I believe it was 2 minutes, however long it took him to start calming down. So I noticed that when he first starts hitting the bag, he hits it very hard and he's very strong. The bag almost lifts off the ground sometimes. And I can laugh about it now because it's funny now. It wasn't funny then. But he hits the bag very hard in the beginning. When he starts to calm down, he kind of taps the bag or he'll kind of push it a little bit. And when he's completely, fully calmed down, he'll go ahead and sit down. But the sit down moment where it's just, we're just sitting, we're being quiet, our hands are on our knees, and that's just our time to reflect and think, and also to get a breather and to calm our breathing down, calm our heart rate down. And this is what he usually does when he gets upset. Now, once his 1 minute finished, I put a timer, of course, for his 1 minute of sitting down and calming down, and quiet time, I like to call it. And after that was done, he went back upstairs into his room, and at that point is when he started to cry, because now he's no longer angry because he's already gotten it out. Now he's just sad. And unfortunately, that's really all I could do for him. And I said all that to pretty much say this: when your child is having an episode and you just really don't know what to do for them, and you really don't understand why it's happening, just think about, what do they usually do each day? Did something get disrupted? If they can talk it out with you, ask them, hey, what's going on? Did something happen with your routine? Did something happen that you usually do, now you can't do it? Let's talk about it. And talking about it will help. I even talk to Ste'ce about things. Now, although he is nonverbal, it does not mean that he can't understand me. And I say that a lot because I really want people to know that just because he's nonverbal doesn't mean that you can't talk to him. Talking to your child is very important, and especially if they're nonverbal. If you don't talk to them, then how will they know, what's expected of them? How will they even become to understand at a young age? Like, think about it. At a young age, don't you talk to your little babies? Of course you do. They might not understand right then, but they will eventually the more you talk to them. And so this is what I've been doing with Ste'ce, and I know for a fact that he understands everything that I say. So if he's having a moment, I pick and choose, and if I think that at the time talking about it will help, then I'll talk him through it, talk him through his emotions. And he doesn't normally communicate back with me via his device or anything. If he's upset, he just wants to be left alone. But us as parents, we know when it's time to leave him alone and when it's time to talk about things. So that's just what I do. I talk it out. Or if he's escalated, his anger is escalated and he's hitting things, then the time for talking is over and we got to take action right away. And we got to be consistent with this. As soon as he starts hitting things or he starts breaking the rules, he starts being disrespectful, whatever your rule is in your home, take him right to redirection right away. Do not wait until he does something a second time. No, we're correcting the first time every time. And the consistency will help them know. And they will think about it before they do it. Now, there are times when Ste'ce is angry and he wants to go and hit something, or he wants to go and slam his tablet or something of that nature. I watch his thought process. Now, he'll think about it and then he'll look at me. And especially if he sees me looking back at him, he'll calm himself down right away because he doesn't want to go to the bed. He doesn't want to go, so he thinks about it and he calms himself right down. Now, this is not every case. I wish it was, but it's not. That's why he still needs me to redirect him at times. And that's just fine. I'm going to redirect him every time. And hopefully, in the future, when he's an adult, when I'm not around, he'll have all these tools to correct himself and redirect himself. This is the plan. So, in conclusion, please remember that our awesome person is not just having a tantrum, and the routine is important to them. When the routine is set off even the tiniest of bits, it can cause anxiety, and anxiety can cause stress, anger, sadness, all of those things, and we do not want those things. But there are going to be times where the routine cannot be followed to the T, and the world is not always going to be the same. So we have to be there to help our awesome one through these changes. And it's okay to sometimes let these changes be. You don't want to stress yourself out or max yourself out, exhaust yourself trying to keep our awesome person's routine the same all the time. If it cannot be the same, it can't be the same. It just can't. And that's when we take that as a learning experience to help them go through the change. And we'll go through it with them. So I hope this helps somebody. And please, please, please follow us on Facebook, Shay and Ste'ce. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Shay and Ste'ce. And follow us on Instagram, Chef Ste'ce. And also subscribe to our Snapchat, Chef Ste'ce. And of course, we're on TikTok, Shay and Ste'ce. Thank you so much for listening. Okay, bye.